Team Freedom currently stands 2-0 over Even and Death in this best of 5. Game 1 was a shutout 12-minute short game on Sky Temple for Team Freedom, but Even and Death really brought it to the members of Team Freedom in Game 2 on Towers of Doom. They showed a lot of synergy between the Garrosh and Uther. They got some early picks. They were a little scary for Team Freedom, but in the end, Freedom took one mistake and ran with it to make sure that they could make sure not to lose a single game to Even Death like Roll20 did last week.
Yeah, and you know, if you're in that position, maybe these games and losses might not matter that much, but again, it's about sending a message here to the opponents here for Team Freedom, because they still have to overcome Roll20. Roll20 still looking like the dominant dog here in North America, so there's still somebody to take out.
Well, let's see if they can do it, if they can get the 3-0 win over Even and Death that Roll20 couldn't. Infernal Shrines will be Game 3. And Infernal Shrines, it's another good one for Team Freedom.
I'm calling a Leo with the Infernal Shrines pick here for Team Freedom. I just feel like that's got to be what they're going with. They were willing to pick it on a map where it was less effective. They tried it out. It didn't work out maybe as well as they would have liked. I don't think there's any world where Team Freedom goes, that was game went exactly how we expected. So if you're willing to pick it in that one, it's a map where you can get away with it. If its playstyle is going to be a bit more split focused while it was, this is a good place to bring it out. Other than that, maybe they'll just kick it old school, stick to the norm. But one thing we won't have.
No Medivh.
No medevac, mini medevac. That's what, can we call him miniature medevac? Or what?
Minivac.
Can we call him Divine Shield? No? Too soon for that one too? Okay. Clairvoyance.
This is not going to be here. It's not going to be here this time, Dread. You don't have to worry. It's gone. Even a Death banned him.
I actually have nightmares with a Raven just going, over my head. Like,
it's a Raven and then the spray. That's what really gets you.
Yeah, and it's the Varian Q on top of it all. Just sitting there questioning everything I'm doing. I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to win the game. Man.
Raymain first pick for Even and Death. Now, we had a lengthy discussion about the merits of Malthael for Team Freedom, and really it's the merits of them not playing him so far in all of Part 2. What are your thoughts on Team Freedom being the first team to exhibit that they have picked up Leoric, which obviously is being played in Europe?
That is a great sign, right? The same reason I wanted to see the Malthael, seeing the Leoric is a very good trend. Right now, I mean, it's naive for North America to claim that they are better at identifying a meta. It has been about a year and a half since we have failed to be able to do that, maybe even longer than that, because even when NA was able to take a U, I'm not going to claim we had a better meta. We just maybe learned it a bit faster, right? And so it's just unfair to do that. So seeing the European teams, as dominant as they are, busting that out here, it is in the best interest that our teams that may be representing us are willing to play their meta as fast as possible, rather than trying to learn it on the fly within the short period of time that they may be able to play at BlizzCon, which is oftentimes the common trend we see North America make, and oftentimes probably why we have identical results.
I guess Roll20 sort of was the first. They were playing Leoric before. We don't know if Roll20 is going to still play the new version of Leoric, but they were also playing Leoric some in the past couple of weeks.
Want to break out the Leo here. Vala and Rhaegar, though, were the choice for Team Freedom. A lot of shrine control between the Rhaegar. Vala, man, she's a classic DPS. She really is. She's just tried and true. She's got mobility. She's got a gap closer, single target, a little bit of sustain. AoE, she's got crowd control. She just kind of can do a little bit of everything, but I'm still amazed at the level of priority that we see specific teams pick her, unless you're going into a double support. That's the only way I really see it justified. So do we see Team Freedom go in that direction here in this game? I don't feel like that's the case. We've only seen one ban that would indicate Team Freedom is ever going to go in that direction, and it was in this series.
Lucio and Malthael. So even in the case that Team Freedom maybe was going to double support with the Lucio as a way of countering the Malthael, that's not possible because Even and Death have picked that up. There's still a possibility for Tassadar unless you think that'll be a ban for Even and Death.
I don't think well, I mean, it wouldn't be bad.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a terrible ban. It synergizes with the Vala. It synergizes with a hyper carry that the Rhaegar is indicating towards. It's got a lot of shrine control itself. I mean, first off, Tassadar, for me, is for how heavy of a first pick he is. Don't get me wrong, great hero, but he doesn't stand out as much on maps where either I'm not going to give value out as wave player. And so like a map like Shrines, I really do like seeing that kind of play from him. Just knowing not only the skeletal defenders, if you're split pushing, he aids in every front, but the Ariel. So it's double support. It is a true double support, and Team Freedom must be the only ones willing to run it, question mark. It's 2 times in a row
That
now.
is
Even in Death
so-
has banned the Ariel in a secondary ban phase with the high vol on the side of TF.
That's just so strange, considering that Team Freedom, through the entire Western Clash, if they double supported, it was only with the Shielder, with Medivh or Tassadar. And so when they played versus European teams, they were having to first ban that Ariel. It's a weird day for me, and I don't know how I feel about seeing Team Freedom ban both ETC and Genji. Not cool with it, Team Freedom. Bring me back. I want your Genji back. I want Zugrug at ETC. Doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, it does a little bit.
I know they're adjusting, and that's good, but I love those classic picks for them.
It is kind of a heartbreak, you know. As a team grows, you gotta let go of the old and embrace the new, Gilly. Sometimes
If you love him, you gotta let him go.
You gotta just let him go, you know. It's like the old goldfish. Let him go. You don't remember the goldfish that we had a goldfish conversation long ago. I was trying to meme like a really old meme that only you would get, but I thought it was worth it. Anyways, the Tassadar and the JoJo picked up. Really, this screams now Rain of Vengeance Deathball composition with the JoJo prepping. Rain of Vengeance typically is picked, but only when there's a Johanna on the other side, and then they now all have those together. It's one of the few cases where Johanna synergizes with the Deathball composition because she has such a great immediate follow-up with the Vala, as long as she properly uses her 2 charges.
What would you like to see then as a final pick for Cure? Are you thinking more of a melee assassin for more damage? Are you thinking a secondary warrior, and then it's all on Vala to seal the deal?
Give me a second to think about this one.
All right, we'll talk about Even in Death.
There's some big, you know, R-button heroics here on Even in Death, very teamfight-focused heroics, so where I'm immediately considering my disengage, especially when I have a Johanna. The Garrosh and the Leoric, now I'm going to be beaten when it comes to macro pressure. I'm gonna be honest here. I'm a little scared for Team Freedom no matter what that last slot was. After that rotation for Even in Death here, that was pretty big impact there. Very beefy, difficult to be able to deal with. Our cameraman just
yelled Gaslow.
He wanted a Gaslow. This is what happens when the power goes out for an hour.
This is what happens when the cameraman hits his head. All of a sudden, we think Gaslow is going to get picked.
Yeah. Whoever tweeted that out to us. Now you know. This is the outcome. It is the Illidan.
It's the standard.
I didn't think that would still be the Illidan, to be honest, for Team Freedom. After having the double beefy frontliner picked up for Even in Death, it's not because Illidan won't be in a situation where he can thrive into a laning aspect, but he doesn't do too hot in the team fight aspect unless he can really, you know, get on the Greymane, he can get on the Malthael, the Garrosh, the Leoric, like all those are really not prime targets. And then Lucio's the only one remaining. Did he almost die?
It's all fine. We've got you. Late night heroes of the storm.
I've got you. I don't know about this room, but Dread's got your back.
Well, Team Freedom now has what looks to be kind of an old school Even in Death composition, double support with Vala and Illidan, but sort of Freedom-esque too, especially the Illidan. These are 2 of the few teams in North America that have still been willing to run Illidan in this day and age where it's all about the Malthael.
Yeah, you're all right. And I'm going to be really sad if they don't go into the Rain of Vengeance direction with the Condemn here. It's not been a North American staple, and I said it is like, it's fact, but NA is actually the only region that doesn't run those synergies together. So hopefully we see that because it works against so many people on the other side. And again, Team Freedom is the first to kind of be willing to venture out towards what is known as the international meta, so maybe we'll see that from them. I just think it's very it could genuinely hurt their team composition if they fail to go in that heroic, that level of impact.
Well, let's get into Infernal Shrines for Game 3. Even in Death, hoping to win this game to continue the series. Freedom just wants to close it out. 3-0.
3-2 nada. It's going to be that game point here, but Lutano on the Garrosh. He has made some serious plays. Beyond his build looking like, again, he's throwing around a bunch of humans left and right.
I really want to know what's going on with their roles. Homicidal's back on Malthael again? Yeah. Lutano's Garrosh was really good. It almost seems like it is the warrior. Whatever warrior they draft, then that's where they're going.
I'm going to be honest, like, I don't necessarily mind that Even in Death in the middle of this transition isn't willing to stick to it maybe as rigidly in tournament games. I've honestly been surprised at how many teams have been willing to kind of like blindly follow the changes that they're making in a tournament game. Like, don't get me wrong, behind scrims makes a lot of sense, you know, but when, I mean, tournament games are the ones that all that matter. So if you feel like you're going to have a bad time that day, spend a day playing normal and then kick back to the norm. So I don't mind even in death, especially because it's not like they have anything to lose at this point.
This is the time. Use this as serious practice. Figure out your roles for the Crucible. That is the only thing now that matters win-wise for even in death. That they're able to get the victory against whatever Crucible team ends up going up against them. That is a whole different ballgame. That is a best of 7. So even in death has to take into consideration making sure that they can play on more than just Sky Temple, get victories on other battlegrounds. There's a lot of practice to be had in these final 3 series for even in death.
I'm willing to guess that at level 4, we're going to see, I don't even know the name of the talent, but
Unbound.
the Condemned CDR.
Oh, you're talking about, oh, okay.
It's going to be Condemned CDR with that punishment at level 1. You got the mana cost on
Righteous
Punish,
Smash.
which typically means you're going full W at 4 and 7. He's going to outwave clear the Leo in the side lanes and essentially be royal focus this, boys. It's actually surprisingly effective, the talent synergy. Otherwise, maybe...
Except when you get chased all the way again. Back from the lane you were wanting to go soak.
Yeah, that's a good point. At least he B-stepped afterwards. Zugrug really sending the message we all need here. Maybe not. He doesn't have to go into level 4 by any means, but it's one of the few times that I've actually seen an argument for it here. The map would justify it. The composition kind of justifies it. The level 4 trade-off, losing Laws of Hope, isn't that big of a loss. It hurts when it comes to the Leo matchup, but that's really it. And wave clear is the biggest disadvantage of the composition that even in death has. Leoric is really the only one who could make it, so I'd like to see it. Yeah, he goes for it.
Eternal Retaliation.
That's awesome. This is honestly one of my favorite Johanna builds. It's one of the few that, in my opinion, makes Johanna worth it because at least she's so good at something other than teamfighting that she's a problem at all points in time.
Yeah, and she has it up a lot more often on the Shrine.
It's disgusting how frequent it's up.
Yeah, so she can have that for grouping up a lot of the skeletal defenders, so then Psionic Storm, multi-shot, all of the area of effectabilities that Team Freedom have can get a lot done to skeletal defenders. That was a big pull.
That was a huge groundbreaker there. Even in death, kiting away. They're falling very, very low, but so is Team Freedom. The biggest thing is the fact that the skeletal defenders were there for Freedom. They're going to get themselves this Punisher, and there are very little defenses remaining here for even in death. Or not remaining, but they have very few defensive anti-Punisher heroes on their side. Garrosh, Leo, Lucio, Malthael. Malthael's okay, but those other ones are pretty poor in that area, and something that I expect Team Freedom to really capitalize on because they're really good at sieging, mainly with Cure on that Illidan.
Iron Skin was used. Cured Illidan, diving fairly deep, but continuing the attack. Condemn catches 4. Nasmus right behind, so is Cure. How? Hoping to save his Greymane, but first blood will be claimed by Team Freedom.
Really good use of the evasion there from Cure, dropping it right before he got flipped over, meaning he takes 0 damage. Friend or foe right away, and now Team Freedom, they've already gotten, I mean, that is far more than anybody can expect out of first Punisher. A very aggressive game for them so far. And I don't see a big area for that to change around again, unless the new Leoric.
Somewhat changed to that new Leoric build, getting Ghastly Reach at level 4 for increased range. It's all Skeletal Swing at 4, it's just what you want to get there, but this will be increased range. We'll see what that means for the rest of the build. But then also the Bloodthirst change in for the kill. Lutano trying to get something that will help him with the clear, which has been their issue. He could reset the cooldown of Bloodthirst if it kills an enemy, a non-hero, gets more damage.
Yeah, it interacts a lot like Kerrigan's Q reset would in general. It does take a few auto attacks to be able to get it off in the earlier stages from the few times I've managed to get this build on this map. It's not, because with Kerrigan it's 2 autos and a Q depending on what point of the scaling, which shrine you're onto. This, it does feel like it's a 1 auto W, or double auto W, which is actually quite a bit of a while. So somebody else, unlike the Kerrigan, what I'm trying to say is you need somebody else with him. He can't do it by himself. Somebody else has to prep them, and then he comes in and he's like, I've got all of these, right? He's just going to nom nom, eat them all up, and get those for your team. But getting them on his own, it actually still takes quite a bit. Do you think this was taken for the Shrine specifically, or the wave clear? A lot of Shrine control is the main reason for it. It's their answer to, and it's just what I expect to be a Rising Infernal Shrine build for Garrosh. Maybe not Rising, but a niche one we can see here and there.
Next Shrine about to activate. Team Freedom maintaining that level lead they got after getting First Blood and the top 4. Speaking of top 4, Homicidal's having a rough time versus Cure. Cure's ability to continue to sustain himself helps him out a lot with trying to solo versus that Malthael.
If he stays near that sidewall, he can dash over it again. Friend or foe with collusion here. Cleanse, as long as he hits this cleanse when this pole comes out. Not even needed. The totem's enough.
Do it just in case, for good measure. Bringing collusion up not only saved Illidan, it spent a lot of Even in Death's time. It wasted it, while Team Freedom had another plan. Other ideas in mind. They're all working on the shrine in the bottom. And with heroic abilities almost here, Even in Death is running out of times to fight before Freedom gets those heroics.
Yeah, they're going to get that Wraith walk away, and this Punisher is inevitably going to be picked up by Team Freedom. I don't think we'll see any other hairy heroics here from them. I think everything else will stick to the norm. The Hunt was the choice for Illidan. Rain of Vengeance there. And a Force Wall is what I assume, but Archon, it's pretty easy to make a justification for Archon in this composition as well. Fort's already dead, Gilly. Will the keep fall? Will we have ourselves a 7-minute keep? Sidewall's already focused. Team Freedom, they're posturing for one, for sure.
It is way too long without heroic abilities. The focus of the sidewall. Hutana was hoping for a pull through that. Zagreb goes in. The immediate focus with the Rain of Vengeance eliminates Garrosh from the back. Oh.
That was just brilliant initiation there. Just dominate that for Team Freedom. And now they're going to be able to pick up this keep. It's just done. Nobody wants to poke around. Are they going to end?
Are they doing more? There's the leap.
They
Cure's
might be able
there.
to.
Battery takes a whole lot of damage.
Cure is one of the only heroes in the game that can risk this kind of call. And even if they don't, there's no mule possible. So it's a winning call no matter what. Battery, if he goes down, that might be it. 92%.
Oh, man. There goes the Punisher. Collusion will be the first to fall. He throws out Ancestral Healing just before. Sound Barrier and Tormented Soul shows that Even in Death do indeed have heroic abilities to try to defend this core.
Yeah, and now Team Freedom and friends are willing to back out. That was actually a really big misplay by the members of Team Freedom. Not to go for that core, but they went for the core and then decided to actually take the team fight. If you watch Cure for the last probably 15 seconds of that situation, he was willing to essentially try and take out the members of Even in Death. Death timers are too low. Even if he gets kill after kill after kill after kill, they're not worth the experience trade-off of the death timers being that short. All-inning the core and setting it to 30% was a better decision than anything else the members of Team Freedom could have done, unless they were afraid of the experience. If you're afraid of the experience by getting a core down to 30%, true damage, no way to be healed up at any point, 8 minutes into a game, I'd be very surprised for Team Freedom. That is not something they should be fearful of in this type of situation.
Freedom still do have the lead prior to the next Shrine phase, though. They are just about to get 13. So it's not like it's any sort of weird situation, but if anything else, this young-ish team versus a younger team of Even in Death does give Team Freedom the interesting opportunity to now figure out this puzzle that they've given themselves, where they're still a 4 up in mid, they have 13 over, but how do they finish out the game having lost a couple on core, given back heroic abilities, being at 72%.
We see that Johanna and Vala are going to pick up their camp. Rhaegar and Illidan splitting out to the other side. So it's going to be double camp pressure, timed conveniently with the objective, as always here for Team Freedom. This Punisher will go through mid. We can expect that Freedom will take out the fort with the 13 talents here as the members respond to bottom and top. Before the Punisher spawns, just because you want to get as much value out of it as possible, and if not, at least take out the double sidewall. And then expect an all-in on Illidan. If he, or not Illidan, excuse me, on top of the Lucio. If he at any point wants to move up, there is a lot of tools for the members of Team Freedom. Mainly just Blessed Shield, Condemn, Rain of Vengeance. He should be one-shot.
If Even in Death wants to get in, now is the time.
There it is.
Hunt, Rain of Vengeance immediately afterward. How is already down, but a gigantic taunt with the Tormented Souls. Vala is eliminated too with the 1 for 2.
Even though the initiation went as good as it could have gotten for Team Freedom there, Homicidal with that huge Tormented Souls was almost able to turn things around. That was, I mean, if you've ever needed an argument to show kind of the strength of both compositions, I feel like both were shown pretty effectively through that fight.
Yeah, I think that if Sound Barrier had gotten off before Hal was just blown up really fast, then maybe things could have been even better for Even in Death. If they went in without 13, just understanding of the situation, they've already lost a keep, they're down about 30% of their core, so they have to make these kinds of risky calls.
Also, I want to note that Team Freedom just made the second decision I've ever seen them make that fast in my entire life. That with an initiation, the one through bottom, they had zero hesitation. Illidan was the first to open up on that fight, and normally Johanna, again, is the one to prep that, especially with that CDR at 4. Hold on, though. A taunt goes on to Cure, and Sestral's forced. He's able to dodge that knockback.
And then goes right back in.
He's looking to fight this, man. He is one Illidan ready to make stuff happen until the keep gets on top of him. Wants to walk away. March of the Black King goes through.
Yeah, gotta respect the new healing of that 12% of your max health versus the 7 that was before. Even still, Team Freedom gets out and then takes down the Leoric.
Team Freedom's just going to try and keep him here because there's 3 catapults pressuring the core on bottom, and I don't know if that was a fat finger or what, but the members of Even in Death need to capitalize on that. Sound Barrier dropped. I couldn't tell if that was a miscommunication, as in nobody was initiating. He was very much like, guys, we're going, or it was overreactive there. But it's very apparent somebody's got to do something. 12 seconds before the hunt's back. Illidan's going to get that here off this camp. And again, catapults on the core.
Iron Skin used.
There's 3.
Frozen X is back.
Illidan's just going to end the game if he wants. They dive in.
Rain of Vengeance, Condemned pulled in. Tormented Souls will be it. Even in Death, potentially in their last fight of the series.
And now Lutano feels the wrath of Cure. He's going to go ahead and toss it away. The core, though, the shielding's already gone. The catapults are there. Freedom doesn't care. They are not afraid. And more importantly, they will take this game and the series 3-0 over Even in Death in dominant fashion, depending on what moments of game number 2 you looked at. But that last and the very first, very much their game to lose from beginning to end.
Yeah, shutout in game 1, almost a shutout in game 2 or game 3. There were a couple of kills. Game 2, Even in Death looked more fantastic on, but it did seem like they had a lot of answers, and maybe Team Freedom were drafted into a situation where they had to wait until an opportunity for them opened up because things didn't work out for them for the initial Stitches picks. But Team Freedom has a 3-0 win, and they'll go on tomorrow to face Space Station. They'll see if they can continue that consistent wins through the rest of the part 2.
And I still, honestly, I don't know if I've ever had a game I've been... There are games I've been more impressed with Team Freedom, but that game, I was surprisingly impressed considering their opponent and the manner that they were winning. They did a lot of things a lot better than they normally do, and mainly their initiations. Just there were no hesitation. They were willing to open up with more ways than one, right? And what I mean by that is a simpler form, the old school Tyrande compositions, the Muradin stun comes out, the Tyrande stun's going to follow up. When is the team fight going to be the Tyrande stun into the Muradin, right? And that's a simple, only 2 variables at hand, but that's exactly what I'm talking about. Rather than going the Condemn into Rain into Hunt, they were willing to go the Hunt into Rain into Condemn, and that is probably the hardest iteration of the 3 you can end up using, other than opening with Rain, which, let's be honest, not the brightest idea you can have. So just the fact that Team Freedom was able to do that, adjust and run it clean, 3 initiates in a row, I mean, that was very impressive.
Yeah, a lot of synergy coming out from Team Freedom in this series. Let's check in with Warrior player Zugrug for Team Freedom. Hey, Zugrug, congratulations. You got a 3-0 victory over Even in Death. Were there any scary moments, like maybe in Game 2?
Yeah, Game 2, our comp was more late game than we thought, so kind of fell behind a bit, forcing too many early fights, but it worked out in the end.
Yeah, you guys are now looking really good to continue on through the standings. Were you guys anticipating a 3-0? Did you feel like you had to show any strategies here? Were you trying to hide strategies? Talk to us about your mindset coming into this series.
Well, we have 2 matchups this week. We have to play SSG tomorrow, so we were trying not to show too much while still going for the 3-0.
Well, congratulations, you did it, Dread.
Yeah, you were able to get it, and you were also able to gauge a little bit of Space Station gaming. So going into that series here, what are your thoughts? Are you more intimidated now knowing the Space Station and their results today, or no?
I mean, to me, Space Station seems pretty inconsistent, so it just depends which version of Space Station we see tomorrow, I think.
I mean, consistency seems to be the topic point in North America. So you're one of the 2 most consistent teams in North America. How do you do it? How do I remain consistent? My name is Dreadnought, and I like to be a consistent player. How do I do that?
I don't know. Maybe it's just in scrims we're always trying hard. Like every time we scrim, we're always like, we gotta win, we gotta win. So maybe it just carries over to our matches too.
So you're saying I gotta practice like I play?
Oh no.
Yeah. I guess so.
You know, I wish I could have found that bit of advice anywhere else in the world. Thank you very much for that.
That was a trap, Zugrug. He tells me this all the freaking time, and you just confirmed it. Why you do this, Zugrug? All right, I know you've got a really important match tomorrow, and it's the first match of the day, so I'll let you go and get some rest. So shout-outs now before you go.
Shout out to Team Freedom, my teammates. Shout out to all our fans, and shout out to Twitch chat. Always keeping it interesting.
Thank you, Zugrug. Congrats again. Good luck tomorrow.
Thanks, guys.
3-0 for Team Freedom, and that is setting them up nicely as a way of taking the top spot from North America. Obviously, the top 2 spots by the end of Part 2 will get auto entries into the HGC finals at BlizzCon, and we can take a look at the standings now. But it is so close between the top few teams of North America. Those top 2 spots really could be anybody's game. Statistically now, it falls to Freedom and Roll 20. They're the most likely, but as we see, Team Freedom now steps forward above Roll 20.
Standing at the top of the North American scene, and even Odessa still finding themselves down at the bottom. But the biggest thing after today is the fact that Lag Force and Superstars sit 2 whole games apart from one another. The Crucible seems, at least appears here at first glance, to be locked in, 50% of it at least. But still the top of North America is a battle. I feel like Freedom, after today's games, you know, I'm feeling like they're probably at them in Roll 20. It's just now who is that last lead? Who is truly going to be it? And I feel like that's a coin toss. I almost feel like almost anybody could be it, actually. I'm not confident in Gale Force and Tempo anymore after the results recently. And now these rest of these teams coming in looking to play.
I think the best thing for teams about playoffs is trying to be in the 4th and even 3rd place spot, because the fewer series you have to play, the fewer you have to be consistent through, and the fewer strategies you have to show. For a team like Gale Force Esports, who obviously has come into series with very prepared strategies, this would be the ideal place for them, but anybody wants to be in that 3rd place spot. Tomorrow's schedule for HGC Europe will be playing Ducks versus Tricked Esport. And then Team Good Guys versus Team Liquid. That's Europe. But in North America, Team Freedom versus Space Station Gaming, we already talked about that. And then Lag Force versus Gale Force Esports. Guys, Lag Force now has to win the next 2 series that they have. They only have 2 series left, and because Superstars beat Space Station, Lag Force has to beat Gale Force, and then they have to beat Even in Death. It's a tall order to beat Gale Force. Lag Force have come into Part 2 as a new team, a new name, a new identity, a new morale almost. But is it enough to take out Gale Force Esports, Dread?
I'm going to say probably not, but I said that today about Superstars taking out Space Station Gaming is really how I feel about that one. Yes, it's probably a little bit more staggered than the very first series, and I don't think we're going to get a Game 3 Wild Nova, but it very much is likely going to go, you know, towards not Lag Force here. It's going to be a difficult series for them, but I think the biggest thing for me in looking at Lag Force is I feel bad because they just got through a situation. I don't feel bad because this is the tournament results and that's how it plays. But I kind of do because it sits in this weird situation where they had like just this glimmer of hope for a weekend, and then they didn't even get to play. And then one upset just rips it out. They have no chance. Like they do, but they don't, right? They have a Titan to take out. And it's so just weird that they find themselves in that position. And you got to give credit over to Superstars playing up like no other here today. But still, for Lag Force, they just went from standing a chance, practicing a whole week, going like, we don't even have to take Gale Force, like we can get around that. And then day number 1, just nope, immediately Gale Force has to be a win.
It's not just Dread. All of us have been made to feel the emotions by Lag Force. Can they do it tomorrow versus Gale Force Esports? Tune in to find out. Thanks for joining us here at the Heroes Global Championship. We'll see you tomorrow.